Hi guys, how you doing? I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why I love Dark Souls. And there's loads of reasons I love Dark Souls, but the main reason is that it reminds me of one of my favourite game series of all time, the Legend of Zelda series. And I'm going to contrast them with that series here today. As a disclaimer, I'm not saying that if you like Zelda, then you're going to like Dark Souls, or vice versa. What I am saying is that I think there are similarities between the two franchises, and I think that Dark Souls takes some of its best ideas from Zelda, and it's these common themes that make Dark Souls really, really great. Let's start with the beginning. The original Legend of Zelda placed you in this dangerous alien world, and you had no guide, no map, and no weapons. You were then free to explore the world, pillage the dungeons, and progress through by interacting with the environment. Dark Souls is really, really similar, and while the opening lore dump establishes the scene, it's not exactly clear what you're doing or why you're there. Fortunately, Zelda games and Dark Souls games thrive with a sense of exploration, allowing the player to advance through the world at their own pace. Even the more linear Zelda titles give you this illusion of openness, and there's often no world map for you to use, so you have to traverse the area using your own memory. The worlds are incredibly well designed, so areas link together perfectly. Obviously, death plays a really important role in both games, and in video games in general. So, in games like Call of Duty and Hotline Miami, death is this frustrating setback, from which you usually have to bounce back from quite quickly. But Zelda and Dark Souls do things a little bit differently. In Dark Souls, dying is a necessary part of the game, and it's only through dying that you can learn how the many monsters that you fight actually work and what their weaknesses are. In many Zelda games too, death is a serious setback, and it throws you back to the beginning of a dungeon, with only maybe a few hearts left. If you've ever fought Bongo Bongo in Ocarina of Time and died, you know exactly what I mean. And I would argue in the most recent Zelda title, A Link Between Worlds, the inclusion of the item rental system is an attempt to mimic Dark Souls in a really strange way. So when you die, any rented items you have are returned to a shop, and you've got to go back to the shop if you want to progress through the game. The idea is to make death more important and more significant, and it works really, really well. When you're playing the game, you don't want to die. In both Zelda and Dark Souls, death is usually your fault. Maybe you didn't, I don't know, dodge an arrow in the right amount of time, or maybe you used a hook shot when you should have been using a boomerang. But each death is actually a learning experience, and it helps you to understand the game a little bit more. Zelda games all tend to work in a very similar way, so you'll be presented with a dungeon which has got loads of seemingly impossible puzzles in it, until you find the tool or the weapon that solves all the puzzles. I would say that the same is true of bosses in Dark Souls. While there's rarely an easy way of killing bosses, most of them have their own strengths and their own weaknesses that you can try and exploit. There are other similarities as well, including a rich lore that's not immediately available on the surface, and a sense of continuity and change that spans whole games and whole worlds. There's often a vague sense of prophecy that you're told applies to you. Why? I suppose it's because you're the player. Probably my favourite similarity between Dark Souls and some of the earlier Legend of Zelda games is a real sense of madness. So almost every character you encounter in Dark Souls is a little bit unhinged. This gives the game this wonderful, surreal atmosphere and makes you think that the world itself has a way of warping people who live within it. I would say that a really good example of this from the Zelda side is the Game Boy Zelda game Link's Awakening. It shares it really, really well, throws the player into this really bizarre world. It's got talking animals, it's got loads of unusual characters, and it's really, really good. Obviously, no spoilers for Link's Awakening, but there is a reason for it being like that. Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask both have their fair share of crazy as well, but it's not that everyone in the game is completely crazy. It's more like everyone seems a little bit off. My point is that the thing that makes Zelda games great are the challenge, the exploration, and the madness. These are the same things that make Dark Souls great as well, and in my mind, Zelda and Dark Souls sort of fit into the same extended family. So in this family, if you'll imagine, the original Legend of Zelda is the grandfather that everyone wants to venerate despite the fact that many of his ideas are a little bit old-fashioned. Ocarina of Time is the teenager who left home to try something different, and Link Between Worlds is this spry young whippersnapper who seems to get pretty much everything right. Now, in this extended family analogy, Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2, as well as their half-brother Demon Souls, are the moody cousins, and they're prone to plotting, sulking, mainly writing poetry about how bleak the world is. And fortunately, all of them make really good company. I could also mention the Zelda family's adopted sibling Darksiders, but you probably wouldn't buy it. So these are the reasons why I think that Dark Souls is a great game, and it's because it takes some of the best ideas of the Legend of Zelda series and puts them in action. Thank you very much for listening, and if you agree or disagree with anything I've said, that's absolutely fine. Please put it in the comments below, and I hope you've enjoyed yourself. Thanks very much.